to start by telling you what I found. A spreadsheet, hidden in a folder on our shared computer, buried under tax documents and old vacation photos. A spreadsheet with dates, amounts, and a column labeled Expected Returns. Over $300,000. Gone. Our entire retirement. 31 years of saving, sacrificing, planning. Gone. Sent to people we had never met, in countries we had never been to, for coins that never existed. And the worst part? My husband thought he was going to make us millionaires. I need you to understand something before I tell you the rest of the story. My husband is not a stupid man. He is not reckless. He is not the kind of person you would ever look at and think, that man is going to lose everything. He worked for 31 years as a civil engineer, methodical, detail-oriented. The man who triple-checked our home insurance policy every year. The man who kept a binder, an actual physical binder, of every major financial decision we had ever made together. We were not rich. We were comfortable. We had worked incredibly hard for what we had. We drove sensible cars. We took one vacation a year. We put our kids through college without loans. We did everything right. By the time we were in our early 60s, we had just over $300,000 saved. Not enough to retire extravagantly, but enough, combined with Social Security, to live quietly and comfortably for the rest of our lives. That was the plan. That was always the plan. I never imagined I would need to protect us from him. Looking back now, the signs were there. They were right in front of me. I just didn't know what I was looking at. It started about 2 years before I found the spreadsheet. He started spending more time on his computer in the evenings. I didn't think much of it. He'd always been a reader, always been curious. He'd go down rabbit holes on YouTube, history documentaries, engineering forums. I thought this was just another phase. Then he started talking about crypto. Not obsessively at first, just casually. Did you hear Bitcoin hit a new high? Interesting stuff? I nodded. I didn't pay attention. Half the people we knew were talking about crypto. It felt like background noise. Then a few months later, he mentioned he'd put a little money in. A small amount, he said. Just to try it. Just to understand how it worked. I asked how much. A couple thousand. Nothing will miss. I should have asked more questions. I didn't. A few weeks after that, he seemed excited. The investment had gone up, he said. He was learning a lot. He'd found this online community, very knowledgeable people, very experienced traders. They were sharing strategies. He felt like he was finally understanding something most people didn't. I remember feeling vaguely proud of him. My husband, always learning something new. I had no idea that community was the predators who were going to eat us alive. I have spent a long time trying to understand exactly what happened, because for a while I couldn't. I kept asking myself, how does a smart man fall for this? Here is what I eventually pieced together. It started with a platform. Someone in this online community directed him to a trading platform. Professional-looking, sophisticated, with real-time graphs and account dashboards and customer service chat. It looked completely legitimate. He showed it to me once, briefly, and I remember thinking, that looks like a real website. It was not a real website. It was a front. Every number on that screen was fabricated. Every profit he thought he was making was invented by the scammers to keep him investing more. This is called a pig butchering scam. And if you haven't heard of it, please listen carefully, because it is destroying families all over the world right now.
They fatten you up before the slaughter. First, they let you make small deposits, and they show you small profits. Then they encourage you to deposit more, and they show you bigger profits. At some point, they tell you there is a special opportunity, a limited window, a VIP tier, an insider signal. And if you move fast, you can multiply everything. They manufacture urgency. They manufacture trust. They manufacture an entire false reality. And they are extraordinarily good at it. My husband deposited $10,000 and watched it become, on their fake screen, $22,000 in 3 weeks. He deposited $30,000. He watched it become $71,000. He was not gambling at that point in his mind. He was investing. He had data. He had charts. He had a community of people telling him he was smart, that he had good instincts, that most people were too afraid to see what he could see. By the time he tried to make a withdrawal, the first and only time, they told him he owed taxes on his profits before they could release the funds. He paid the taxes. Then they said there was a compliance fee. He paid that too. Then the platform went dark. $314,000. Gone in 14 months. I found out on a Tuesday. He had left his computer open. I wasn't snooping. I was looking for a document we needed for our car insurance. I clicked on the wrong folder, and there was the spreadsheet. I remember sitting very still for a long time, the kind of still where your body goes quiet because your brain cannot process what your eyes are reading. I went through it line by line, the dates, the amounts, the notes in the margin, withdrew $4,000 for compliance fee, moved emergency fund per advisor recommendation, final deposit, big return incoming. The emergency fund. He had moved our emergency fund. I sat at that desk for, I don't know how long, an hour maybe 2. When he came home, I was still sitting there. I didn't scream, I didn't cry. I just turned the screen toward him and said, "Tell me what this is." The look on his face when he saw it. That was when I understood that he knew. He had known for a while. He had been carrying it alone, probably still hoping there was some way to fix it, some way to recover enough that he would never have to tell me. He sat down across from me, and he started to cry. I had never seen my husband cry before that day, in 34 years of marriage. Not once. I still didn't cry. I just sat there, very still, and I listened. He talked for a long time. Hours. He told me about the community, about the person, a woman, he thought, though he was never sure, who had first introduced him to the platform, about how it started so small and felt so logical at every step, about how he had told himself over and over that he was being careful, that he was using money they could afford to risk until he wasn't. He told me about the night he moved the emergency fund, how he had been on a video call. They did video calls, these scammers. They had fake identities, fake offices, and they told him that his account was about to reach a threshold that would lock in a guaranteed return, that he needed to move fast. He moved fast. He told me he was so certain that right up until the platform went dark, he was genuinely, completely certain that he was going to come to me one day soon with the news that he had doubled our retirement savings. He wanted to surprise me. I have sat with that for a long time. The image of my husband at his desk at midnight, moving money out of accounts we had built together over 3 decades, genuinely believing he was doing something wonderful for us. That is the cruelest part of these scams. They don't just steal your money, They steal the person's dignity. They turn a good man's love and ambition into the weapon that destroys his family's security. The months that followed were the hardest of my life. We talked to a lawyer, we talked to the FBI. There is an Internet Crime Complaint Center, the IC3, and we filed a report. We talked to our bank. We tried everything. We recovered nothing. I will not sugarcoat that. If you are watching this, hoping I am going to tell you there is a way to get the money back, I am so sorry. In most cases, there isn't. The money leaves through cryptocurrency channels designed specifically to be untraceable. It is gone almost instantly. By the time most people realize what happened, it has already been laundered through a dozen wallets across multiple countries. We had to completely rebuild our retirement plan in our 60s. We went back to work, both of us. We downsized. We had very hard conversations with our children. We are going to be okay, eventually. But our version of okay looks very different now than it did 3 years ago. The marriage survived. I want to be honest about how close it came to not surviving. There were months when I could not look at him, not because I stopped loving him, but because every time I looked at him, I saw the spreadsheet. I saw the emergency fund line. I saw everything we had worked for, gone. We went to counseling. We still go, occasionally. It helped. What helped more was understanding, really, deeply understanding, that my husband was a victim, not an idiot, not a bad person. A victim of a sophisticated, organized, multi-billion-dollar criminal industry that specifically targets intelligent, hard-working people who love their families. He is not the only one. He is one of millions. I am telling this story for one reason: to reach the person who is watching this right now because something feels off, because their spouse has been spending more time online lately, because there are financial accounts they haven't looked at in a while, because someone they love has started talking about an investment opportunity that sounds almost too good to be true. Please listen to that feeling. Here is what a real investment opportunity will never do. It will never pressure you to decide quickly. It will never ask you to pay fees before releasing your profits. It will never promise guaranteed returns. It will never be introduced to you by a stranger online who builds a friendship with you over weeks before mentioning money. It will never ask you to move funds away from established, regulated institutions. If even one of those things is happening, stop, step back, talk to someone outside the situation, a financial advisor, a family member, anyone. These scams are designed to isolate. They want their victim to feel like they have discovered something special that most people are too conventional to understand. They want secrecy. They want urgency. They want you alone with a screen and a dream. Don't let them have it. And if you are the person who has already lost money, I want you to hear this too. It is not your fault. It is not your fault. You were targeted by professionals who do this every single day, who have studied human psychology, who know exactly what to say and when to say it. You were not weak. You were not foolish. You were human. And they exploited that. Report it. File with the FBI IC3 at ic3.gov. Contact your state attorney general. Tell your bank. Tell your story, even if you're ashamed, especially if you're ashamed, because silence is what lets them keep doing this to the next family. My husband and I are still together. We are rebuilding, slowly, carefully, together. Some days are still hard. Some mornings I wake up and the weight of it comes back fresh. But we talk about it now. We don't have secrets anymore. And there is something, I didn't expect this, there is something that has grown between us through all of this that wasn't there before. A rawness, a honesty, a closeness that I think only comes from surviving something terrible side by side. I didn't plan to share this story publicly. It took me a long time to get here. But if one person watches this and asks a question they were afraid to ask, if one person checks an account they hadn't looked at in a while, if one person protects their family from what happened to mine, then it was worth it. Please share this with anyone you think needs to see it, and please check on the people you love.